Hi all, and welcome to the Conserving Compute Resources section of our video series on best practices for the Terra platform. Cloud computing in Terra is powerful and scalable, enabling public health scientists to analyze large data sets without relying on local infrastructure. However, costs in Terra can add up quickly, especially if users aren't aware of how compute and storage resources are being used. In these videos, we'll explore strategies to optimize your usage and minimize unnecessary expenses. And when thinking of costs in Terra, it's important to consider two main sources: data processing, the compute resources required to run workflows, and data storage, the cost of keeping raw data, intermediate files, and results in the cloud. Being mindful of both of these is key to managing costs effectively. When looking at compute costs overall, there are a few key factors to consider. First of which is the overall input data volume. As an easy rule of thumb, more data will lead to higher costs. Also important to consider is the analytical approach, as different analytical approaches will require different compute resources. For example, analysis to assess whole genome sequencing data will differ greatly when looking at metagenomics data. Organism type may also influence the compute resources required for analysis. For example, resources required to analyze bacterial genomes will differ from those required to assess fungal genomes. And these variables could impact both processing and data storage, so it's important to keep these in mind when considering costs on Terra. So here are some simple strategies that could help reduce data processing costs. First, as we mentioned on the previous slide, it's best to reduce data volume whenever possible. If you've uploaded large data files for a specific analysis, it can be helpful to downsample these reads prior to additional analyses. We also recommend that users select workflows that balance accuracy and efficiency based on the analytical needs. At Theogen, we make many workflows available on Terra through DocStore and always aim to keep this balance for users, given how important it is to the overall cost of analysis. Another tip is to, in general, be mindful of long-running processes that may drive up compute expenses. This is especially important when exploring new workflows and data types. And here are a few strategies to keep in mind on the data storage side of costs. First, archiving or deleting data that is no longer needed can dramatically reduce on storage costs. Also, taking advantage of the shared cloud storage on GCP buckets helps to avoid duplicating large data files across multiple workspaces. So, in Terra, rather than copying files to a shared workspace, you can simply use the same GCP URL. It's also important to note that, by default, Terra workspaces have the GCP AutoClass feature enabled, which automatically moves data to cost-effective storage tiers without impacting accessibility. So this can help to move data that isn't being actively utilized to different cold storage types that can significantly lower costs. All of these practices adding up to significant cost savings over time. And so in these videos, we'll be covering practices to conserve on both data processing and data storage. We'll also include materials on how to update workflow parameters for efficient workflow runs. And because this field is constantly evolving, we'll keep this series up to date as best practices continue to emerge. So if there's a specific topic you'd like us to cover, please feel free to reach out at support@theagent.com. All right, so with that, let's dive in and explore the best ways to help conserve on compute costs in Terra.